House Speaker Mike Johnson said yesterday the House Republicans are getting very, very close to a final budget reconciliation package. But it's uncertain if it will get marked up this week as planned. Meanwhile, Senator Lindsey Graham, as I mentioned at the top of the program, plans to mark up his own budget resolution on Wednesday that will take a two-bill approach compared to the one-bill approach that the House Speaker and others have been promoting in the House. With the House scheduled for a week-long recess next week, how might this week unfold? Well, joining me now to discuss this and more is Congressman Andrew Clyde, a member of the House Appropriations Committee and the House Freedom Caucus. He represents Georgia's 9th Congressional District. Congressman Clyde, welcome back to the program. Good to see you.
Tony, great to be with you this evening.
So just within the last few hours, the House Freedom Caucus released a statement saying they are prepared to move forward with a two-bill reconciliation package. Give us the latest on that.
You're absolutely correct. The House Freedom Caucus met over this past weekend, and we did a lot of work on this and introduced this particular budget reconciliation that is the two-step process, somewhat in line with what the Senate is doing. We're offering $100 billion to both judiciary and to Homeland Security in order to help with border security, and $100 billion to national defense as well. Coupled with that is almost $500 billion worth of spending cuts. So it's a 2.5 to 1. All right, spending cuts over additional spending, but we need the additional spending for border security to ensure that Border Czar Tom Homan has the funds he needs to accomplish the mission that he was given by President Trump, that the American people have demanded, and that is eliminating or removing, rather, violent illegal aliens from our country. But this budget reconciliation, I think, is the best path forward. Whether there's two bills or one, I'm good with either. But we have seen the one bill stall. And so this is the strategy now that we're moving forward with, is the two bill. And this is an actual piece of legislation that we can take up and vote on.
My understanding is, I had a conversation actually earlier today with Senator Graham, and that the funding for the border security is about depleted. So this is needed now rather than later.
That is correct. Tom Homan needs this funding right now. They are running out of money to accomplish this mission. It's not surprising to me that the Biden administration drained all of the accounts, the DHS accounts that would be necessary for Tom Homan and Secretary Noem to accomplish this mission of deportation. That's just what the Biden administration did. And so we've got to be absolutely as quick as we can to get funding to them so they can do what they need to do.
Now, I understand that this, as you said, there's cuts in this initial one bill that is being proposed, but there's additional cuts that would come in the second bill, if I'm not mistaken, if I read correctly what's being proposed by the Freedom Caucus.
That's right. It's a two-step process, and we sent out a letter that actually talks about the second budget reconciliation package, which would deal with the tax cuts that President Trump has promised the American people, deal with the continuation of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which is about to expire at the end of this year. But then also you've got the no tax on tips, and you've got some incentives for manufacturing as well that need to bring that back into this country. All good things that will spur economic growth. And so what we will see is that one will be paid for with economic growth, all right, on one side, but then significant tax cuts on the other, to the tune of about $1.5 trillion worth of tax cuts, which is absolutely necessary if we are going to move forward with the spending cuts, not tax cuts, spending cuts if we're going to move forward with the tax cuts that President Trump wants.
All right, Congressman Andrew Clyde, the big question is, all right, is there agreement in moving forward in the House? Because the clock is ticking.
The clock is definitely ticking, and we are working on that. If we can get the more moderate side and the right side, the Freedom Caucus, together, which is what we're working on right now, then the middle will come with us. And I am confident that we will be able to pass this type of legislation.
What do you see as the sticking points at present?
Well, some folks are very, very convinced that only the one bill process will work. I'm not convinced of that. I believe that people want tax cuts, all right, and we need to pay for those. And I believe that people want border security. But border security must come quickly. And we don't have the time because the tax cuts portion of it is very complex. So we don't have the time to get both of those together into one bill and pass it. And that's just my opinion of it. But we certainly do have the time to get the border security and the defense portion of it done in very short order, because that's the primary focus right now. We have time to do the tax cuts.
So the approach with the one bill was that all of those elements, for instance, the border security, the defense, which those two issues are more popular, that would gather all of the support of conservatives, whereas some of the other elements, which are maybe not as popular, would be difficult to get all the Republicans on board. I mean, you're a part of the Freedom Caucus. Would all of the Freedom Caucus members vote for what's contained in the second bill, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I think we would. In fact, we're actually pressing that issue right now with the Speaker. So I believe that it would be the Freedom Caucus, the right side of the conference, would certainly be in support of it. I think where you have some sticking points is more the moderate side, those from New York or California that have the higher taxes, and we have the state and local tax issue that was capped in Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. It was capped at a $10,000 deduction. It's kind of going a little bit into the weeds, but that's one of the sticking points that I think we can certainly overcome.
They met with President Trump. They talked about that issue when they met with him, when the more moderate members met with him down at Mar-a-Lago. Would they potentially sink the entire reconciliation process, or at least the second bill, based on that?
My gut feeling is no, they wouldn't. The American people have spoken loud and clear when it comes to President Trump. They elected him. He said this was one of his absolute main focuses. Securing the border was one, deporting illegal aliens along with securing the border, and then tax cuts, extending his 2017 tax cuts. That was his other primary focus. And so I don't believe in my heart of hearts that Republicans will stand in the way of President Trump accomplishing that agenda.
Last question on that topic. Is it possible to see movement on it this week? Because the the House is scheduled to break Thursday afternoon and will be out next week.
Well, that's going to be up to Speaker Mike Johnson. I'm sure he has seen this bill that was just put forward today, and Chairman of Budget, which is Jody Arrington, and it's going to be up to them whether this moves forward this week or not. I certainly hope that it does. I know that we've got a budget meeting tomorrow to talk about this and to see what path maybe this can give us. But I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged with what the Freedom Caucus put out. This is a good plan. It could work.
Final question for you. Got about a minute and a half left. The backdrop of all the efforts of the Department of Government Efficiency being led by Elon Musk, we've been talking about cuts. We've got a bloated government. We've got to cut. Well, Democrats are melting down over what's going on. What do you make of the response from Democrats?
Well, I've always said that in government, sunlight is the best disinfectant. And I think that that's what Doge is doing. That's what Elon is doing. He's bringing sunlight to this issue and showing all of the massive waste, fraud, and abuse. And this judge, I think Engelmeyer, in what he is doing in stopping them with the judicial order, which I think has no merit whatsoever, is tremendous judicial activism. I think President Trump called it out very severely. And this has to stop, this kind of judicial activism, because, for the Democrats to be opposed to eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse and making our government more efficient is just stunning. Yeah. That goes to show you they have no message.
It is stunning. You're absolutely right. Congressman Andrew Clyde, always great to see you. We'll be tracking this very closely and hope to talk to you again real soon.
Great to be with you, Tony. Thank you.